doing a little bit of seed starting here at Anderson Seed and Garden. Do a class during the winter time, and we start seeds and watch their progress throughout the class time. And about 3 weeks ago, started some tomato seeds. And here's kind of like the progression of how it works. We start with little peat pellets like this, and the peat pellets, you hydrate those, so you just add water and they expand, and when they expand up they look like this. We planted tomato seeds, and usually in about a week I can get the tomatoes to start to germinate. There's just a little bit of a sprout coming right there in the center, so this one's about almost a week old. It'll be a week tomorrow, and so it's just starting to germinate and start to come up. Usually it takes me about 5 to 7, maybe 10 days depending on the conditions. But when you hydrate those pellets up, we'll put the seeds right in the middle, kind of pull the soil up around them, and then I like to put them in a large nursery tray with a heat mat underneath. So the heat mat really makes a big difference. So generates about 10 to 15 degrees of added temperature, and so if it's 70 degrees in your house, on the countertop in the kitchen, it's probably really only 65 degrees. So we really need to get that temperature up to about 70 degrees, 75, maybe even 80 degrees to really get tomatoes to germinate properly. So a heat mat like this makes a huge difference. It goes right underneath your tray, and then my pellets, once I hydrate them up, put those in there, and then I put my nanodome on top with artificial light. So this has an LED light to it, and the LED puts out a lot of light, and it reflects it as well too, amplifies the light, and so it acts like its own little mini greenhouse right in here with its own light source. And it's a great way to germinate and get your seeds going with that nanodome. But after a week, we've got a little bit of germination. This is 2 weeks, about 2 weeks old, and it's just getting going. It's starting to put on its second or third set of leaves, starting to harden them off, and so it's perfect conditions inside the nanodome. And so as we start to harden them off, the leaves start to get a little crispy around the edges because they're used to this perfect, humid, warm, nice environment. So I'm starting to torture them a little bit to get them ready to go outside. So this is just a little bit over a week old as they get going, and this one is almost 3 weeks old. Look at the root system that we have coming out of the peat pellet. So as we start those seeds, they germinate, they get going, they start to develop a root system, and then we kind of boost that root system to get root growth on the tomato plants like that. So as we're germinating and starting them, we use a little bit of seed starter from Bicor to get those seeds to germinate a little bit quicker. Once they germinate, to help them root and get established a little bit faster. And then once they root, and once they kind of start to put on those sets of leaves like this one, we'll start watering it with the kangaroos, and the kangaroos will just, in a short amount of time, burst those roots right out of the little peat pellets. And as you can see, just about a week after we start using the kangaroos, it will produce roots like that in our little peat pellets. So it makes a huge difference when you're giving your plants, giving your seedlings a little bit of a boost with a seed starter or with the kangaroos to get things going. So February, March, April, these are all great months to start your seeds indoors, get them ready to transplant outside, and it just depends on what you're planting. So peppers take a little bit longer, tomatoes take about 6 weeks to be ready to transplant. If you're doing squashes, melons, or cucumbers, or anything in that vine family, it's only 3 or 4 weeks to have those ready to transplant outside. So you've got to time things properly so that you don't have great big huge plants inside the 1st of March when you really can't put your tomatoes out for at least another 2 months without having a lot of protection for them. So we can show you all the steps and how to do that here at Anderson's, but it doesn't take very long. I mean, just 3 weeks to get your tomatoes from basically nothing up to about 4 to 5 inches and ready to transplant into a 4-inch pot. So makes a big difference to have a heat mat, nanodome, indoor light, and the right kind of fertilizer. And here at Anderson's, we can show you how to be successful with your transplants inside.